Hey brother! Jay, if you have watched a Marvel movie or two, you may have started to notice the recurring cameo of this older gentleman. If you are an avid Marvel movie fan, you probably know that this is none other than comic book author Stan Lee. And if you are a comic book junkie and Marvel snob, you may just know the significance of this cameo. Today we discuss how this is so much more than just an Easter egg. Jay, it's kind of like Pixar and A113. Finding Stan Lee hidden somewhere in a Marvel movie isn't shocking. It's not a question of whether or not he's going to be in there, it's a question of where he's going to be. But what's so fun about A113 in Pixar movies is that in the beginning, it wasn't even hidden at all. It was really only a question of whether or not people were going to notice that the same numbers were in each film. But then as time went on and this Easter egg became much more famous, it sort of became a game for animators to see how carefully they could not only hide A113, but also the Pizza Planet truck and nods to upcoming films in their movies. Hidden so carefully, in fact, that in many cases you can't spot them at all unless you have a Blu-ray copy of the movie and a pause button. Which brings me back to Stan Lee's cameo. It isn't even new at all. Everyone knows of the Easter egg. But the evolution of this Easter egg, even if originally it wasn't intended to be, may be more than it seems. You see, Stan Lee may not just be an innocent bystander or FedEx delivery driver in each of these movies. It could actually be something much more fun and important to the Marvel universe at large. Now, some of you may already know where I'm going with this, and that is to suggest that Stan Lee is none other than Franklin. I love that joke. No, but for real, today we are going to suggest that Stan Lee may be none other than the Watcher. Now, one of three reactions are most likely happening on your end of the screen. One would be, who on earth is the Watcher? Two would be, I've already heard this theory. And three would be, I've already heard this theory and no. But stick with me, we're really just getting started. Let's first start by discussing who the Watcher is. And we should clarify that further by saying this is a Watcher, not the Watcher, and maybe describing what the Watchers are. Watchers are the longest living and most technologically advanced species in the entire Marvel universe, and basically they were like, hey, we have lots of technology, let's show it to less technologically advanced places and make them better. And the other worlds were all like, hey, atomic energy technology, let's make nuclear bombs! So then the Watchers were all like, well, that didn't work, we should just go back to watching. So they adopted every aquarium's favorite philosophy. Look, but don't touch. But like the, even if you're dying at the ground before my feet, don't touch kind. So the Watchers basically decided to spread out all of everywhere, ever, like anywhere, anytime. All the places, there's a Watcher. And what purpose were they serving by simply watching everything? I have no idea. Knowledge is power kind of thing? Which brings us to the most famous of the Watchers, at least to us here on Earth, Uatu, who is the Watcher of Earth. And Uatu has been watching Earth for billions of years. That is billions with a B. Which means he was there to like witness photosynthesis become a thing, which is too riveting. And then there was that time 2.4 billion years ago when breathable air became a thing. That must have been such a spectacle. Hey look, air. Did you know that between 1.8 billion years ago and 800 million years ago, so little happened that it is literally referred to as the boring billion? He had to witness the boring billion. Never complain about going to the DMV again. I mean, not that he'd do anything to you other than just like, keep on watching. It sounds kind of creepy when you say it like that. But that brings us to the existence of humans. And for someone who has been watching Earth for so long, this would be like he blinked and all hell broke loose. But despite all of the chaos, or for that matter, maybe because of all of the chaos, I mean, after all, Earth's history would be like the best reality TV show ever. Uatu came to favor the humans and broke the most sacred of all of the Watcher rules, and touched. Twinkle, twinkle, little. That's right, guys. Darla is the Watcher. Not really, that would cross universes and be a super lame explanation. Except in this one instance where crossing universes actually makes the theory more viable, just not between Pixar and Marvel, but rather between Marvel and Marvel. Now, you may or may not have been confused over the years how there are X-Men movies which hail from Marvel that don't exist in the same world as Iron Man, who also hails from Marvel. This is because different studios own different rights to different Marvel comic book titles. Fox owns X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Deadpool. Sony owns Spider-Man, or did, well, I guess they technically still do, but now they're just making money while Disney does all of the writing and producing and creation of the content. And speaking of Disney, they own basically everything else, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Basically anyone associated with the Avengers. And then there's Big Hero 6, which is a Marvel movie produced by Disney, but not a part of the MCU. Yes, it is confusing. Here is a handy chart to help you out with it. The point is, that is why some superheroes coexist and some do not. But then how is it that Stan Lee exists in every single Marvel movie? Like, if this Spider-Man doesn't exist alongside this Spider-Man, and that Spider-Man doesn't exist alongside this Spider-Man, but Stan Lee exists in all of them. Well, what if the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the one that's owned by Disney, isn't the only universe under the greater Marvel umbrella? What if all of these studios and characters exist separately, but still alongside each other in the Marvel multiverse? Okay, yes, multiverse can sound like a big, complicated word, especially if you've never read a comic before or delved into multiverses. You may be raising your eyebrows in skepticism, but it's not as complicated as it sounds. Have you ever tried to Google one of your favorite superheroes only to find on their Wikipedia page that there exists like a bazillion more versions of that character than you ever knew existed? It can be daunting and annoying. Like, how am I supposed to learn all of these different variations? How is it so hard to like my favorite superhero? Don't worry though, the reason why there are so many different versions is because a lot of people like that character. So throughout the years, there have been so many instances where they wanted to reboot the character and start a brand new storyline. The problem is, in comics, the characters are constantly crossing over with one another. So it's hard to pick up like a new Spider-Man and start, because then that would affect like everyone else that Spider-Man had ever interacted with, right? The way around it is making a brand new Spider-Man in a totally new universe. This way you can take all of your own liberties with the character without affecting everything else he's done in the past. Spider-Man is actually a pretty great example of this. I mean, just look at how many different worlds he exists in. Now, occasionally you'll have characters discover that they are in a multiverse, and this is how oftentimes characters can go and meet all of the other versions of themselves. But that finally brings us back to the Watchers and Uatu. See, the Watchers can actually observe all of these universes simultaneously, which means whichever version of the character you are specifically reading about, they are all being observed by the same single Uatu. And so it would appear that Stan Lee, no matter what studio is producing the film, always finds a way to work himself into it, which means that Stan Lee himself is immune to the multiverse, which could mean that Stan Lee is the Watcher. In fact, in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, we see Stan Lee alongside other Watchers and telling them the stories of all of the experience he's had, which means the Stan Lee you see in every movie, no matter what he's doing, is the same Stan Lee as every other movie and is able to remember his experiences no matter how mundane they are. James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, actually said that he was trying to confirm this specific fan theory with his role in Guardians 2. Now, ironically, in an effort to try to confirm this fan theory, he actually created a continuity error. In the movie, Stan refers to a memory of being a FedEx driver, which happens in Civil War. But in the Marvel timeline, that happens in 2016, and Guardians is happening in 2014. He did back it up by saying, even though it's not a great argument, he does believe that Stan could have used the FedEx driver outfit more than once. Regardless, he was trying to confirm the theory, so I'm personally going to roll with it. And if it is true, it's a master stroke, because it means if the other studios can ever come to agreement with Disney, we can actually see all Marvel characters cross over into the MCU. It means that every version of every Marvel character exists all at once in separate universes, all under one gigantic Marvel multiverse. Admittedly, it is unlikely that we'll ever see most of these Marvel crossovers, but it does leave the door open. But guys, for my question of the day, what do you think? Are all these Stan Lee cameos connected, or is it really just a fun running Easter egg? Be sure to leave your thoughts in the towel section down below. Guys, as always, thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also, we just added a couple of cool new reward levels to our Patreon. There is a Discord chat where you can now actually interact with us directly on a daily basis, so you can check that out right here. Or we have another video discussing the number 12 in Marvel, so you can check that out right here. But Jay, that is everything that I've got for you today, man. I will see you on Tuesday.